All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. I'll just have I understand. I understand. Splash Mountain at Disneyland and the Walt Disney World Resort's Magic Kingdom is one of my favorite rides and has been one of my favorite rides for the last 15 years. I understand. The other day, Disney Parks unveiled that Splash Mountain will officially begin the reconstruction and the retheming into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It's going to open late 2024. If I had to take an educated guess with all of my Disney Parks experience for the last 15 years, I would guesstimate that Splash Mountain will probably close around December, probably right after the 50th anniversary celebration ends. It should be no secret to anyone that a lot of Disney fans are not happy about this. If they had their way, they would keep this ride exactly the same with no change at all. But Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, has since came out and stated that it was time to Splash Mountain to make a change due to the controversial movie that it is based off of, Song of the South, which was released in 1946. What I want to do today, the main purpose of this video, is to dive deep into the movie to discover, is it really racist? Is it offensive? Why do people have so much of an issue with it? I really want to find an understanding and why it is a beloved movie by some and a hated movie by others. The story centers around the prominent character Uncle Remus as he tells stories of cartoons named Bret Bear, Bret Rabbit, and Bret Fox to a little boy named Johnny who is visiting a plantation with his mother and father. He happens to come across Uncle Remus telling his stories to other children, and he becomes fascinated with these stories. So let's provide some context. If you take out the fact that the story takes place a few months after the end of the Civil War, it's starting the Reconstruction period in America that is trying to abolish slavery. Uncle Remus is a revenant of the in-between time. He was born a slave, but as the Civil War ended slavery, he is now a free man. The movie also takes place in Atlanta, Georgia, the most southern part of it, to be exact. Now, if we take all of that away and we just leave the story itself of a man and a boy becoming friends, there we have a feel-good story where I can see people that are from that generation could fall in love with this movie and be so passionate about it. But if you put the context of the setting and the character and the history back into it, here is where our issues began to arrive. Song of the South came out in the year 1946. Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights activist, was 17 years old during this time. The civil rights movement didn't start until 1954, 8 years before the change in America really started to take place. So the movie came out right near the tail end of the Jim Crow law era, the set of systematic racist laws that have kept people of color separated from everyone else for so long that even still plagues America to this day. Don't get me wrong, though, it would be foolish to not acknowledge the vast improvements of society that have taken place in America since that dark time. But it would also be foolish to not acknowledge that the creators of Song of the South grew up in a society of America that was completely splintered. And it's impossible to think that they could have had an accurate grasp of African American culture during that time. Now, let's not forget that James Baskett was so well received in this movie that he actually received an honorary Academy Award. But it was during the Jim Crow law era, so it wasn't an actual Academy Award that took place in a nomination category. They just gave him one due to the fact of his color, that he couldn't be added to the real nominations of the awards. And let us also not forget that Uncle Remus is the originator of the magical Negro trope, the magical black person that guides the white hero to the promised land, even though it was during a time of either slavery or the civil rights movement, and this black person just had the ability to say all the right things at the right time, and he possessed some type of magical capabilities that was unbeknownst to the hero or man itself, and they came from literally nowhere. So with a little bit of math, we know that if you were born in 1946, the time of this movie's release, you should be 76 years old today. So even if you were born during the time of the movie's release, if you were born 10 years after the release, 20 years after the release, and you watched this movie with your parents or your grandparents, it still does not give an accurate representation of how African American culture was during those time periods. And that is where the understanding of it being offensive to the African American culture in today's society is playing into factor. It is a full understanding that Uncle Remus is a very friendly, heartwarming character, but it's also an unrealistic character to the African American community. There's no such thing as a black man in his 60s to 70s that was essentially a slave his whole life, trying to live out his later years in as much peace and comfort as possible, that was telling stories about cartoons to the characters represented in this movie. It's just unrealistic. In the 1860s, the 1870s, the 1850s, wherever you want to pinpoint where this movie takes place, it just wouldn't have happened. Now, is this the most racist piece of history I've ever seen in my life? Absolutely not. Of course not. But, and this is straight from the heart, Walt Disney World to me is supposed to be a beacon of humanity. It's supposed to be one of the single spots on the planet, personally for me, that I have been to where I feel like I'm not black. I feel like the white person next to me is not white. The Mexican person standing over this side is not Mexican. The Asian person over here is not Asian. Arab, it is the one place that I have been to in my life where I feel like we are truly equal. In my opinion, in today's society of Walt Disney World, Splash Mountain just represents a dark period in American history, and it holds no place in the #1 family destination in the world. Disney has made the choice to upgrade it with Princess and the Frog, featuring Princess Tiana. I accept that. It makes me happy. It makes me realize that Disney has realized the mistake in their history, and this is their way to try to rectify that. And it's so sad when people try to claim, woke culture or pandering to the black community, where I think it's just their way of apologizing, like, hey, back in those times, this really wasn't deemed offensive. Now that we know our brothers and sisters, this was a mistake. And this is us trying to rectify our historic transgressions. And I believe that we as a society owe it to them to at least give them a chance to try. Now, to shift gears a bit, I've been hearing some rumblings that the Princess and the Frog doesn't belong in Frontierland. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. As you can see, this is an original storyboard. This has nothing to do with the original Princess and the Frog story. Tiana has on a new outfit. This is about her traveling down a bayou in search of something. We don't exactly know what that something is, but she's looking for, if I had to take a guess, a mythical artifact, something of that nature. So, I mean, if she's hunting for treasure, that kind of fits in a frontier, wild, western atmosphere. And even if I wanted to play devil's advocate, there's plenty of storyboard scenes in The Princess and the Frog that would translate very well to the Splash Mountain track system. It's drops, water, and splashing. They're turned into frogs, for God's sakes. 80% of the movie is them traveling down a bayou looking for Mama Odie trying to get turned back into people. Water and splashing. That's perfect. I don't really understand why people are having such a hard time believing this. If you've seen the movie, it makes perfect sense. Also, adding on top of that, I'm sure a lot of people have forgotten by now, but Disney announced a couple of years ago that they were in the process of making a Tiana Disney Plus show that will most likely premiere in 2024 as well, to correlate with the opening of the new attraction. So it's all a part of the plan, man. And I know a lot of people were logically thinking that Tiana's attraction at the Disney parks should be something to correlate with her restaurant that she gets at the end of the movie, but that already exists. Tiana's Place is a restaurant on the Disney Dream, the Disney cruise ship, where you can see Tiana perform with a band. You can get all types of Louisiana cuisine. It's a really cool experience. So they've technically already done that. I know it's tough to differentiate between the Disney Cruise Line and Walt Disney World, but I've never known Disney to rehash ideas. Also, I've seen a lot of people want them to move Princess and the Frog to Tom Sawyer Island. I'm not a fan of this idea at all. No. I don't like it. I think the biggest takeaway from this entire discussion that we need to realize is that in the long run, Walt Disney World is deemed for children. Not yesteryear's children, today's children. My daughter is 5 years old, about to turn 6. She knows Princess Tiana. She loves Princess Tiana. She's known Princess Tiana her entire life. She does not know who Brett Fox is, Brett Bear, or Brett Rabbit. They're too old, and it was just time to update that ride with a character that is well known amongst the generation of today. I've been going to these parks for 15 years, and I can tell you off top that as much as I love the classic attractions like Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Haunted Mansion, so on and so forth, those are not the attractions that keeps me coming back year after year after year. It's the new experiences. It's the new fireworks shows. It's the new attractions like Guardians of the Galaxy, The World of Pandora, Flight of Passions, Galaxy's Edge, Rise of the Resistance, Smuggler's Run. The new attractions is what keeps me coming back to Walt Disney World twice a year, year after year. They have to keep the new experiences coming. If they don't, then Walt Disney World will eventually fall to the wasteland, and we will take our vacation destinations elsewhere, like right across the street and Universal Studios, who is literally building another park right now. So the only way that Disney World is going to be able to stay atop is if they keep giving us new attractions, new experiences, and new memories. I had one goal with this video. I'm not asking for acceptance. I'm not asking you to love it. I'm just asking for understanding of why Disney decided to do this, and that you should at least give it the opportunity. Don't be one of those that say, I'm just not going to go to Disney World anymore because of this one decision. That's just pure insanity to me. You probably weren't going to go to Disney World anyways. And now it is time for me to attempt to open up the comment section. I am very interested in your thoughts and critiques of this decision by Disney. If they are well thought out, if they are careful and articulated, I will respond and we can have a good discussion. But if they are vile, cruel in nature and just unintelligent, they will be deleted. I can guarantee you that. Now, as always, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed my explanation of Splash Mountain and Song of the South, please hit that like button. That does help my channel continue to grow. You guys allow me to do the thing that I have always loved doing and receive a small income for it, and I couldn't be more grateful. You can follow me at youtube.com/marjack79. I am also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As I take my leave, I leave you with this quote by Walt Disney himself. I believe that this frightfulness we see everywhere today is only temporary. Tomorrow will be better for as long as America keeps alive the ideals of freedom and a better life. And as always, I will see you guys on the next one. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.